Pride. I'm here joined by the DA leader and Rob Quintus, who is our MMC in the city of Cape Town. And we are here marching today to mark the significance of Pride, but also pledge our support for the LGBTQIA community. But before we do that, I want to ask some questions to the DA leader. John, why are we here and what's the significance of the DA being part of a movement like this?
Well, I think it's twofold. First of all, we're in government in the city and in this province. And I think it's very important for this community to know that this government is on their side, that we one of the core philosophical underpinnings of our party is freedom of the individual. And that means freedom to choose who you love and how you live your life without interference or suppression from anybody else. The second thing is to show solidarity with a community that unfortunately across the continent and in places in South Africa is still under significant threat from intolerance and people who want to perpetuate violence on this community. In July last year, there were 6 young people that lost their lives that we know of. Their only crime, that they were gay and they were killed. This is not acceptable, and it's showing our commitment to make places where the DA governs safe places for members of the LGBTQIA plus community, but also to show that we must advance these principles across the rest of the country and also on the continent. It's shocking that we still have a continent where in almost 30 countries it is illegal to choose who you would like to love. And South Africa, I think, has a duty and responsibility to be able to shine the light of our constitutional values on the rest of the continent.
And I was about to just say that. I mean, while South Africa has made significant gains, and I'll talk to Rob about that right now, while South Africa has made significant gains, but the reality is that we've got an obligation to the rest of the continent too.
Absolutely, and South Africa's got to use its voice on the continent. We are one of the major players in the African continent. We've got to be able to use that to take our values that are enshrined in our constitution and shine them on the rest of the continent. It's not good enough to do, as Didi Mabuza said, shut our mouths and respect other countries. We've got to, if we believe in the fundamental principles in our Bill of Rights of freedom of the individual and non-discrimination, then we have to take those responsibilities and those values onto the rest of the continent and use our position to pressure those countries into changing their ways and becoming more tolerant and more open societies.
Absolutely. Rob, this is a celebration, as many know, but also it's quite significant and it's got serious and ramifications, and it's a serious statement that we're making here today. So tell us a little bit more about this event.
So the Cape Town Pride has been going for over a decade already. The DA as a party has supported this event consecutively year on year, but not only having feet on the ground, showing that solidarity and commitment to an inclusive society where we can celebrate our diversity. But I think Cape Town Pride overall speaks so much to so many of the DA values.
Yeah.
Around inclusion, around tolerance, around, as John said, the freedoms of the individual. But I think most importantly, it is an opportunity for the city of Cape Town, and I must also add that surveys have shown that LGBTQIA members living in DA-run government cities feel safer than elsewhere in the country. And this is because of very proactive policies taken by governments where we are in government to ensure that all essential services staff are aware of and sensitized to many of the challenges experienced by LGBTQI persons in reporting crimes, in requesting assistance and help. And the City of Cape Town is extremely proud, and we as the DA-run City of Cape Town are just extremely proud to have that ongoing solidarity with this event, which highlights how far we as a society, as communities, and as a city government have come in terms of LGBTQIA plus inclusion and the promotion of Cape Town as a safe space for people to visit, holiday, invest their businesses, and where any residents of the city of Cape Town should be able to feel that they can walk the streets of Cape Town, feel with a sense of inclusion, knowing that the city government, this DA-run city government, stands by them.
But also, Rob, this is not about preference, right? I mean, there's some real tangible things that governments can do. And I know that the city of Cape Town has a number of programs that they do, particularly around keeping people safe, providing safe spaces. So just a couple of those, because again, it's not just about what you feel like doing, it's also about an obligation and something tangible that government has to do.
Quite right, Siv. So the City of Cape Town is host in terms of the premises of Africa's only fully compliant LGBTQIA+ shelter. the Pride Shelter in Maltino Road in Oranjezicht. The premises is City of Cape Town property. It is subsidized we are very proud to be able to have that space as the only city government in Africa. Furthermore, our City of Cape Town safe spaces, which engage and assist with rough sleepers or homeless persons, is also sensitized through our service providers to have separate sections for those LGBTQIA persons that may feel vulnerable sleeping in gender binary specific areas as well. So we are very cognizant of that, and we try and do that inclusion. We work closely with the provincial government, who is also very, very inclusive in all of its policies around LGBTQI, especially in the education department, where governing bodies have to have a school policy on how to include LGBTQI learners. In terms of the health facilities that exist, as a province, we are the most effective, and as a city, the most effective in our clinics of rolling out pre-exposure prophylactics, so that LGBTQI persons and sex workers as well are offered an additional barrier of protection against HIV/AIDS. And furthermore, the Western Cape government also provides a space at the old Somerset Hospital precinct for the Ivan Tom's M2M clinic, which is a clinic which specializes in male-to-male transmitted sexual diseases. And all of their prescriptions, the x-rays, any other work that need to be done is done by the Western Cape government.
Okay. John, we are going to be marching from here all the way to the entrance of the venue. Tell us a little bit more about, you're going to be speaking a little bit later at 2 o'clock this afternoon. You're going to be speaking at the event. Tell us a little bit more, at least about, our role in Parliament, particularly as legislators, when it comes to addressing this issue. As you said, hate crimes are on the rise. And so while great gains have been made, hate crimes are still a problem. So our role in Parliament, and a little bit of a teaser of what we can expect from you a little bit later on.
Yeah, well, great, Siv. And absolutely, as a role as legislators, we've got to make sure that whenever legislation is being discussed or promulgated, that it looks at things from an LGBTQIA plus perspective as well as the variety of other interests that have to be taken into consideration. We've also got a duty to speak out against hate crimes. I think particularly given the situation we find ourselves in today, particularly with what's happening in the Ukraine, tolerance, respect, compassion is what's required from citizens to be able to ensure that we create these inclusive environments where people feel welcome. Every South African citizen has a role to play in building up our country. It doesn't matter whether you're gay or straight, whatever your colour is, whatever your religion is, we've all got a role to play, and working together we're really going to take the country to great heights. But I'm very proud of the work that you've done in Parliament. You've tabled a bill that's going to take on one of the more pernicious aspects, conversion therapy, head on. And I think maybe you should share with the viewers exactly what that bill's all about.
Absolutely. And again, while we've been saying that a lot of gains have been made, the reality is that there are still some of these practices called gay conversion therapy. And what we want to do is we want to be able to outlaw that, because of course many of them are done on minors and children and have deeply problematic psychological effects. And the rest of the world has spoken out against this, and it's not explicitly outlawed in this country. And so what we want to do in Parliament, using our seats in Parliament, is to make sure that we pass legislation that is explicit about saying that this kind of practice has no place in a constitutional democracy, especially a constitutional democracy that's as progressive as ours. And so that's kind of the work that we're doing, and we're looking forward to getting it passed.
Absolutely, and I think that we've got a duty as legislators to make sure that we look after everybody in South Africa. But I think it comes down to one key principle, and that's free to be me. I think every South African should be free to be who they are, to live their dreams, to be able to fulfill whatever their goals in their life are, without a government or without other people getting in their way, oppressing them or trying to prevent them from being who they are. And I think that is the key thing. And as I say, I'm very proud to lead a party where one of the key foundational principles is the rights of the individual to be who they want to be, to love who they want to love, and to do what they want to do. And I think that that for me is the biggest test of whether you live in a free society or not, where you can be who you are, stand in a town square and proudly proclaim who you are without fear of victimization, marginalization, or harm. And I think that when we get to that stage, we'll truly be able to say we live in a free society.
And so you must join us today. Follow us on all our social media platforms. We will be marching through the streets of Cape Town right to the entrance of the venue today. But also, while this is a massive celebration, it's also, and while we are celebrating how far we've come, it's also important for us to pause for thought and remember that way too many people are still subjected to hate crimes. And I want to urge all of you at home to speak out, to report this kind of behavior, because if we are not all free, none of us are free. And so join us, and we'll be back right after this.